What's up, everybody? It's Carlos, and this episode of To The Top is brought to you by our friends at The Realty Medics. Check out therealtymedics.com. Hello and welcome to another edition of To The Top. I'm your host, Carlos Alberto Navarro. This is a show that makes you think, make you laugh, and man, oh man, dude, this is something that many, many times I did not think this would happen in so many ways. And my guest today is Drew Garabo.
It is.
Thank you, sir, for being here.
Dude, thanks for having me.
I kind of think I know where I want to start with everything, but I don't, because I'm sure there are people that are watching this like, oh, Drew, okay, I hear him on Tampa, I heard him before. But I think we should probably just start where we started, okay?
Yeah.
Whereas we've known each other for a very long time.
Sure.
Like, you met me when I was 17, which is crazy. I'm 38 now.
God.
All right?
Wow.
And I'll even go further back. I used to listen to you before I even got on the radio and be like, God, I love this guy. He's so awesome and he's so crazy. And I used to listen to you and Daniel, and I would be in the Valencia community parking lot.
East or west?
East,
probably, because you lived out that way. Yeah.
And I'd be listening. I was like, oh man, this is so crazy. And I just became this little intern on the radio. And then I met you one time. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I met Drew. So that's 1998.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And that is kind of where our friendship started. And we stayed friends and partied together. And I mean, partied together.
I don't know how much you want to go into.
I don't.
Good.
That's
right.
well.
We'll keep that off
that's
the
well in our past.
Yeah.
And then to relate this to whatever somebody's listening or watching, just like a good friend, a good buddy. Then something happens. Now, what happened was pretty severe. That shifts your life forever.
Yeah.
Okay. If people were to look at us now, they'd be like, "These guys got their look at these Facebook posts they write."
Yeah. Look at, they're so inspirational. They've clearly got their lives together, and it's been that way for a long time.
Always. Yeah. Not the case.
No way.
Okay. When you and I had our issue, I was in a very different place.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was drinking a lot.
Yep.
Okay. Not like you're kind of alcoholic, sit at the house, like drink a beer every night.
Right.
More like you're
Go out, drink, and do it till it hurts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And drink like crazy and party.
Yep.
And in a bubble. Okay. You and I had both been in radio for a while. Then you were let go from the real radio. And then you started another show.
Oh, yeah.
I'd never done anything different. I'd been in this radio bubble my entire life, since 17 to about 25, I think this is when it happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was this ridiculous radio drama beef, okay, which still consists of this day.
I know.
That led to me assaulting you and beating you up on stage at St. Patrick's Day. As I fucking
Feels
say
weird
it,
to say, doesn't it? Like, I'm like, you did? You fucking dick. What the hell, man? Why did you do that?
It is crazy to say.
Yeah.
Those events are like all squished together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now here we are, years and years later, having a conversation for the whole world to see. Now, we've had these conversations in the past. This is not, for all intents and purposes, this is not a first time seeing each other. Like,
oh my God.
The Spider-Man meme. No, we've been able to talk things out, but I think at this level we've never been able to fully, because I'm sure to this day you get asked about it.
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a quick Google search, and that's among many unfortunate things that you'll see.
Trust me.
Yeah.
My mugshot shows up, Carlos Black Bean Navarro, like I'm a Latin king, and I'm my thug, thick neck.
It was pretty
thick.
thick.
Yeah.
It was thick.
I looked like a criminal. And guess what? I was. Okay. Is that about right so far?
Yeah.
Where we're at?
You nailed it. Except I think I'm going to own my part in this, and that instead of handling my abrupt departure from Real Radio like a professional, like an adult, I took it extremely personally, even though now I can look back and see why I should have been let go before that. So I started at another station, And I had not just a chip on my shoulder, but a friggin' block that big. Plus, you're tasked with picking up where Howard Stern left off. So I thought, why be friends with these guys who have been friends with me for decades now? Why not start taking shots at them to get them to talk about you on the radio? Because the bullshit radio war, like you said, that's how it works.
That's how it works.
So you put that ahead of friendship. You put that ahead of compassion. And look what happens. You guys start hating me. I start hating you guys. It gets worse. The weirdest thing for me was that when I saw you like a week and a half before that,
I know, I was just thinking about
Avenue,
this.
I remember I was walking by you. I was leaving an O-Rock 105.9 show with the band Morningwood. I don't know why I remember these things. And I see you and like
2, 3 in the morning.
Right.
Like this is what.
Late.
Could you imagine being out at 2, 3 in the morning now?
No, I cannot. I can imagine waking up at 2, 3 in the morning, but not being out. So I see you and Lance, and you're waiting in line for pizza. And I look, and I, for some insane reason, thought we were cool. Like I thought I can take shots at Jimmy and Russ and all these guys, but Los will know.
Sure.
We've always been buddies.
Yeah.
So I see him like, what's up? And you give me this look like, what the fuck you mean, what's up? And I'm like, oh, man, he's got beef. I'm like, well, do you want to talk about it? Because, I knew of your...
I'd already been, let's be honest, I'd already been arrested twice for fighting and drinking. I was a bit of a maniac at this point.
Right.
And I thought I kind of had my shit together, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I see you, and we talk for a while, and I could tell you were pretty heated. But when I left that, I thought, well, good, man, that's awesome. Like, at least he understands. He may still be upset with me, but at least he understands where I'm coming from. And then, my next interaction with you was, of course, when I saw you at the St. Patrick's Day party.
So... from that point, and this is good. This is like we're fleshing out, picking up the details that I've like. So what happened from that point was somebody told me, "Hey, did you hear Drew said something about you on the radio about how he didn't want to talk to you or something?" Once again, a telephone conversation upon a telephone conversation. With To the Top, I try and highlight stuff. I try and highlight things. Never believe what another person tells you unless you hear it with your own ears.
Right.
Because it's getting translated, it's getting exaggerated. And so I heard he said he didn't want to talk to you. Oh. And this is what I mean. And I'm like, man, I can't believe this dude, man. I can't believe. So you ratchet it up,
of course.
And then you fast forward to about a week and a half later to St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
a holiday for drinking people. Let's be honest.
It's the Cinco de Mayo. It's all it is for drinking.
Right.
And at that point in time, my goal, I woke up, I was like, oh yes, I'm gonna start drinking at 5:30 in the morning. Like thinking about this.
Sure.
And in that world, it was perfectly normal. Of course we're gonna drink.
You're gonna be drunk all day. Why not start now?
Why not? Right. And I didn't know that you were gonna be down there. I did not. Right. In the midst of my debauchery, about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I had several people. Carlos, you should go home. My fiance at the time, Megan, was like, "You need to go home," and I was like, "Nah, I'm fine. I'll just party a little more." Fast forward to 1 or 2. Hey, did you hear Drew's here? Couple people instigating,
of course,
telling me, "Hey, man, we should go find him." And I think about that now. Yeah. I think about like if anybody came up to me like, "Hey, man, we should go try and fight somebody," I'd be like, "Are you insane?"
Right? Why would I want to do that?
Why am I doing this? This is. But in that time, it was like, let's go. Let's go.
Game on.
And so we actively searched for you for a while and couldn't find you. And the people that, and I'll keep these names nameless, okay, or these people nameless.
Right.
They disappeared somehow. They left. They did the smart thing, right? Yep. But here I am, because that probably happened 12:31 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
12:31 in the morning. I'm walking around downtown Orlando. And for those who know, Orlando's not a huge city.
No.
So you get to know just about every person there.
Correct.
Boom, there's this event. And who's on stage?
This guy.
This guy, Drew Garabo, hosting some sort of contest.
I'm throwing T-shirts out. There's, I think, a St. Pat's bikini contest for some stupid reason. Yeah.
Now, I happen to come across, but there's security everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And as I'm walking, I'm here in my crazy head. I'm hearing you say things. Like, that's how far gone I was. Remember, drinking shots, like, and I hear Carlos, and I'm like, he's obviously talking about me. And I walk up to security, and there's, "Hey, Pedro, what's up?"
Yeah.
Lets me right through.
Yep.
Now, there are thousands of people on the streets in this point.
Oh, yeah.
And I walk up onto this massive stage, and I begin to beat you up.
I know. I saw you. I was throwing T-shirts out, and I had time to go, "What else, Carlo?" And then all of a sudden, wham! And I was like, "Whoa! Did I just get? What happened?" And I fell. And I remember you jumped on me and you were slamming my head into the stage and you were talking all this shit while you're doing it. I'm like, what, why are you, I'm in my head, I'm going, why is he doing this? And then I'm thinking, why isn't anybody stopping him? Like,
I know. And I'll say it once again. I am sorry once again. Now, I've said this apology several times, not only here, but in court and several places. Yeah. I was ripped off by people, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I probably would have killed you.
Yeah, I felt that.
And I'm saying these things, I'm kind of like hearing them and then taking them in.
Intense,
like,
right?
yeah. And immediately arrested, put on the ground for the whole world to walk by and see.
Right.
You're obviously in a rage going, this guy's a maniac, da-da-da-da. People coming up to me. I remember this. So a bar owner coming up to me and saying, hey, I'm trying to pay off the police. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I have $10,000. I'm going to try and pay off the police. And I was like, go for it. I'm smiling.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking that I'm okay. This will be fine.
Right.
I can get out of this. Well, that night totally changed my life forever.
As well it should. Right at that point, I don't want to mention his name, a guy who worked with us now works for iHeart in Tampa, who I wasn't really fond of at the time. I see him now and we're cool, but he comes up to me and he goes, hey, what do we need to do to make this go away? And I go, are you kidding me right now? And he goes, well, what do we need? I got 10,000. Like, what do we need to do to make this go away? And I look at the cop. I go, can you get this guy out of my face right now, please? My nose, I'm pouring blood everywhere. Steve from Maximum Security is there, and he's like, dude, I don't know what the hell just happened. Why is Carlos going to jail? I'm like, well, and then they were putting you in the back of the car, and I remember our eyes met, and it was just this like frozen in time moment of like, what in the fuck
happened?
Right.
Yeah. So go to jail.
Right.
Getting processed. Hey, Black Bean.
Oh, yeah.
People are. It was a total. I remember sleeping in the cell on a toilet roll piece of paper by myself because they kind of put me off. I'm still drunk.
Yeah.
I'm still drunk. I sober up. I stay pretty much the whole day. I get bailed out, and I'm covered in blood still. And I remember having to walk back to a area because there's no Uber then. This is the early 2000s, buddy. Ain't no Uber then.
Barely cell phones.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be able to Uber now. Be like, okay, yeah, there's barely a cell phone.
Right.
And I walk by this massive billboard that has my picture on it.
Oh no.
By 33rd Street in Orlando, and it was this like surreal.
Oh yeah.
Is this all gone? Am I done? Somehow or the other. We're going well into this. Why not?
I know, yeah.
That was the beginning of a long process that, for me, totally changed my life in the sense of this. I realized that I was going down a very bad road, that I could have killed you, that I literally just beat up an old friend for nothing, really, for built-up drama, for radio BS. And I quit drinking that day. I battled it later on down the road, but that's a different story for a different day.
Sure.
And that was a realization in my life that was like, that. Okay, bottom of the barrel.
Rock bottom.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how are you feeling in that moment when that happened?
Yeah, so the moment that you're in jail, I go. Steve wants to take me to the emergency room, and I'm like, I'm fine. I can drive. Like I'm good. The blood, like they've got stuff shoved up here, so the bleeding's like minimal and stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna drive myself to the hospital. So I remember I drove myself, I think, to the same hospital where Xander was born, which is out in Longwood, and. I go to the waiting room in the ER, and some girl is sitting there, and she goes, hey, are you Garabo? And I've got fucking blood everywhere. There's tissues shoved up here, and I go, oh, yeah. She's like, what happened? So, I'm like, not for nothing. I think, before I forget this, though, the thing that hurt me as bad emotionally as the physical pain was that people still probably think that I called Megan something, which I've always liked her and I always loved her, and like that above and beyond anything else, like the public perception of that's what hurt like the worst. You know
and in my head, I heard that. I heard, and it could have been this, but I was so blasted at that point, and I was looking for a reason, and I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
So then you went back on the air. pretty quickly.
Yeah, I did. But funny story though, they had me looking at this eye chart while I was down there, and they were like to see if I was concussed, and and I'm like, I can't read even the big E. I mean, I know it's an E, but I can't even read it, and I'm just like, oh my god, I've got a concussion. Holy shit, my brain is broken. And they're like, well, we're gonna. And then I go, hold on one second, wait, can you look in my eyes and see if there are contact lenses? And they look, they're like, no, there are no contacts. I'm like, it makes sense that Carlos hit me so hard that my contacts literally flew out of my eyes. So so that was good. I was not concussed. It was just I had no eyewear. Yeah. So then, I go back on the air, chip on my shoulder. I think that happened on a Saturday night, maybe.
Yeah.
So the Sunday, of course.
No, it was a Friday night.
Was it really?
Yeah, because it was we were still on the air. So,
right. I think that was when I took like the one and only pain pill I've ever had in my life, other than when I had my wisdom teeth out when I was 14, and I realized how I hate the way pain pills make you feel that itchy, like fuzzy.
Are you sure we never took it?
Well, except when you came back with some Rohypnol, but that's a different story in Mexico. Different podcast.
Yeah, that was legal there.
Yeah, so like the weekend is spent with our GM, like, hey, are you okay? And then they're setting up a call between your GM and my GM and blah, blah, blah. And so I go back on the air and, of course, milking it for all it's worth. Sure. Like, poor me. Oh, I'm an innocent victim. And the bottom line is, dude, like, nobody's perfect. And, like, this is a very extreme example of what can happen if there's a breakdown in communication and some petty jealousy on both sides or an anger and whatnot. But look at us now, dude.
I know. And I'm so grateful to have this moment. Now, it did take a while. The court process was a long, treacherous one that by the skin of my teeth, I didn't get a felony. And in all honesty, I probably deserved it, Can
I ask you an honest question?
Yes.
Did you pick that attorney because he had prosecuted or he had defended a stalker of mine?
I never knew that.
Gotcha.
I
always wondered that.
Yeah. I picked him because he was... I mean, that would be a brilliant methodical move.
It totally would, and I always thought, well done.
The day after I met with a friend of mine, Lawrence Collins, shout out, he's actually been on this podcast before, who is a federal prosecutor.
Yeah.
And I sat with him, and I was like, dude, what do I do? And I remember it was what the hell is that bar's name? Mulligan? I don't know. It was one off of Colonial. Right. We're sitting there, and I'm thinking, like, oh, this will be fine. Not fully to that extreme, but I was like, this. And he's looking it over. He's like, yeah, you're fucked, man. I just remember him. He goes, "You're going to go to jail." He goes, "This is open and shut." Ooh. And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "No, this is open and shut." He's like, "You're going to do at least a year in jail."
Ooh.
And this is like hooligans. I don't know what that was the name of the
formerly benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Dude, you assaulted in front of thousands of people." Unwarranted, and I'm like, but he said these things on the radio, and he's like, that doesn't matter,
right?
He's like, you weren't, he was, and I was like, and I swear to God, he goes, there's one guy that can get you off. His name is Kirk Kirkconnell, and I went and got a home equity line loan, and I went to Kirk Kirkconnell, and I sat with him, and this dude was a amazing defense attorney.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best.
Oh, yeah.
I did not have the money. I took out the equity. I didn't know if I was going to have a job still.
Right.
I knew that they were somehow still wanting me there because I was a good part of the show.
Probably even more so now that you beat the shit out of me.
Yeah, they're like, okay, well, he's got some attention on him.
He's loyal.
Yeah. He's like, I did this for real radio, man. I did this for real radio. And then I went to his room, and his office looked like a straight up out of Law and Order, wood, everything.
Yeah.
He talked like this, and he looked at the case and goes, "Oh yeah, this is open and shut, Carlos." And I'm like, "Fuck." He goes, and he sat down. And he goes, and actually before he even looked it over, I kind of explained my whole everything, and I was already in like, I messed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need to get this over. I started AA. I was like proactive as hell. You know, it was like a big shift. Thank God for Megan. God for Megan. If I didn't have her, I could have been still like, no, but he said this. Right. And he's like, you need to plead to the judge. And that was unheard of. To not present a case, just go directly to the judge.
Right.
And he's like, everything you just told me, you need to say to the judge. And so what happened was every time we tried to do something, you were like, you cut that off at the bend. You were like, no, I want to go to court. I want to go to court. And as you should, you were trying to get your day in court because of what happened.
Right.
About a year and a half it took.
Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah. Until finally we had a courtroom date. And it was that not straight out of a movie?
Dude. That was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. I remember seeing you like come walk by me and sit down over there, and I see Daniel, and I haven't seen him in forever either. And I'm looking at Daniel, and he's looking at me, and there's Catherine Brown, and there's the lady from the mustard seed, and I'm like, I used to work with and love all of these people, and they're talking about why this guy shouldn't go to jail for beating the shit out of me. What have I done in this life?
Dude, I'd never been in that situation. Your side was empty.
I know.
And my side was packed because I was literally bringing everything I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I pled to the judge.
Yeah.
And I didn't get off scot-free.
No.
3 years of probation.
Yeah.
Had to pay back a bunch of money. Mandatory stuff. But it seemed as if I was going to get a felony.
Oh, yeah. And I remember talking to the judge and being like, I don't know what to tell you, Your Honor. Like, I'm deeply hurt that this happened. This shouldn't happen to anyone. But at the same time, is his life going to be any better because you throw him in jail? Like what's that going to do to him? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to tell you, Your Honor, but here's how I feel about it. And you do you.
Yeah, you did. You did. And I remember thinking, oh, damn, because I was like, I was a big part of the process. I'm trying to get Obama elected. I'm trying to do these things. I'm trying, and a felony, that's going to, and just the whole stigma to it all. And then seconds before I thought she was going to say, and I find you guilty, she's like, I'm not going to give you a felony. I was like, whoa. I remember walking over to the bailiff, and they were like, they need your fingerprints because you're a felon. And I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, you didn't get a felony? I remember that clear as day. He's like, we call her the felony queen because she hands them out like left and right. But do you remember Kirk standing there, and he's like, do you remember when we were in college? He knew her from college.
Oh.
It was like, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, he was badass. I remember when he defended a dude who had made some stalking and harassing phone calls to my wife at the time, mm-hmm. and he defended him in court and got me to cut him a break, and the guy just picked it up and started doing it again. And I was like, oh, so then my next dealings with him, he's representing the guy who
You're like, are you kidding
my ass. I'm like, man, I'm getting a little tired of this guy and his depositions.
He's good. He's good. So, that was a big shifting point in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at myself and going, how did I get to this point? This is not who I am. And a big change of mentality. And you and I, being diehard Magic fans, and then you working with the Magic, I didn't even know if I could talk to him. At a certain point, I couldn't. It was like, you can't talk to him.
Sure.
But then years after, about 2 or 3 years after kind of all the things have been settled, I would go to Magic games.
Yep.
You were selling for the Magic.
Yeah.
And I would see you, and I would duck and hide out of embarrassment.
Yep.
Out of not knowing how you would react.
Sure.
Facebook and social media wasn't where it was at now, where we really can kind of see where people are at more so, as odd as that is to say. And then one day, out of the blue, I think I wrote you on Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's how it happened.
Yeah, and you wrote back this genuinely nice, awesome, thoughtful response. And it was like this gigantic way, like, bro. And I think out of anything that we talk about today, I want the listeners and I want the viewers to know that forgiveness is a gift that you can give to people. That also helps you. And you gave me such a gift of forgiveness that to this day, that is my thoughts on forgiveness. Like, it goes back to that. Because you didn't have to. You could have been like, no, go fuck yourself, Carlos. I'm going to have to bleep out a lot of fucks here. But it was very awesome of you to do that, and to this day, I thank you for it.
Well, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity, because honestly, I never really knew the power of it. Like, holding a grudge to me was part of my DNA.
I get it. Me too.
Somebody wrongs you, and we still have to fight that, don't we? I mean, and that's another thing I'd like for people listening to and watching this to take away is that you can't ever control those automatic impulses that pop into you. What you can control is your reaction to them and how your brain works around them. It's going to pop into your head, hey, that person wronged me. Fuck you. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
You're in traffic. Some dude cuts you off. You're like, oh, I'm going to get him at the next exit. We can control those impulses. So does it suck that what happened to us happened to us? Of course it does. One little thing goes one way. Your life goes that way. My life goes that way. And neither one of us are in a position where we can do this right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
I really think if that didn't happen that night.
We will be back to this podcast in just a second, but I just wanted to let you know about the sponsors of this podcast, and that is the Realty Medics. And Tommy at the Realty Medics is a longtime friend, somebody who I've worked with, I've bought homes from, and he is a great person who can help you out in so many different ways. if you're looking to invest in real estate, if you're looking to buy real estate for your own home, or maybe you need it managed. But his real passion is helping people build long-term wealth with real estate. And the way he does that is just with conversations with you. And you can do that by just emailing him, tommy@therealteammedics.com. Go to the website, it's therealteammedics.com. And just with one email, you'll see what I'm talking about. He will personally email you back. You guys can start having a conversation of what you're looking for. He is the man to do it. And that's why I trust him being the sponsor of To the Top. I've known him for many years. He is the founder and the broker of the Realty Medics. Tommy runs one of the fastest growing companies in Central Florida by the Orlando Business Journal, and he currently manages over 900 properties valued at over $200 million. This is what Tommy does. Send him a message today. Say you heard it on To the Top. I promise you he'll write you back, and you can begin to really build some long-term wealth with real estate. And there's nobody better than Tommy at the Realty Medics. Check him out, tommy@therealteammedics.com. Now let's get back to the podcast.
It happens to somebody else, and I kill somebody.
Right.
And I end up in jail. Like, I genuinely believe that.
Me too. And if I don't get my ass kicked by you, because I certainly had it coming, then I get my ass kicked by somebody else who's not going to stop, and it's not going to be in a public place, and they're going to kill me. So,
man.
You know what? Those little tweaks that go either way in a parallel, in an alternate universe, probably you're in jail and I'm dead. So that's not a fun place to be. Forgiveness is a gift that you can give other people, but it truly is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Because when I would see you at those Magic games, of course there's a little anger, but there's a lot of sadness of like, thinking about all the damn times that we had at 4 o'clock in the morning when we're laughing our ass off, and I'm trying to get you not to beat somebody's ass, and all those moments, like you think about it and go, man, all of that went to shit because of this radio bull crap that was completely unnecessary on my side and everywhere. So when you messaged me, I could not have been putting that out there in the universe more. I was ready for it. And when you did it, I was finally at a point where I'm like, yeah, man, that's all I needed. I needed you to acknowledge what happened, and that way I can tell you why it hurt me, but moving forward, why really it's probably one of the better things that could have happened to our relationship.
It is.
Because without that, would we even be talking right now? You'd be doing your thing in Orlando.
Sure.
I'd be doing my thing in Tampa on the bone. And where would we be?
Yeah. That's I want to highlight that. You know, a lot. Tony Robbins says, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. The worst thing that happens to you is usually the best thing that happens to you. And it's hard to see it in the moment. And it's hard to see it when you're dealing with it. But later on, you look back, you're like what you said, in this parallel universe, we'd be living this very, very different life. And that forgiveness gift that you give to people, you know, we had never wronged each other up to that. Because there's probably people listening going like, well, God, I've forgiven this guy, I've forgiven this girl 10, 15 times. You can forgive, but not forget if that person continues to present themselves as that past person.
Yeah, forgiveness without action is manipulation.
Ooh.
If you or an apology without action is a manipulation. If you keep saying I'm sorry for the same thing, but you're not doing anything about it, you're just manipulating that person into accepting what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's good.
So if you're sorry for it, great. Change it.
Yes.
Like I'm sorry for a lot of things I've done, but I'll continue to do the same damn thing until I reach a point where I'm like, this is ruining my life. This is ruining my relationships with people. So let's go ahead and knock that off. So our incident, I think, set me on a voyage of, that's probably physically the worst thing that's going to happen to me. So then what could I not forgive someone else for? And since then, I've had way more unfortunate things happen to me. And I try my ass off to forgive the person. But that doesn't mean you forget what they've done and you automatically give them a pass to do it to you again.
Yeah, you ultimately have to protect your own self. And if I was still this kind of guy, then of course I forgive you, man, but we ain't sitting right here. You know, and so you know, I want people to really know that, like, this tested my life. This tested my will. This made me doubt everything about me. And here we are sitting together, able to talk as friends. Like, we've really reconnect. And it's not like we talk every single day, but every time we chat, I get this like smile on my face.
Same.
And if you would have told me this in the midst of like, this guy's trying to put me in jail for years,
Right.
you know, I would have been like, you're insane.
Same.
So I don't care what's happening in your life. If you have somebody that has wronged you, you can forgive them.
Yep, you have the choice,
Yeah.
and you have the right to be upset about some
Sure,
things. When
sure.
people continue to hurt you, the ones you love, your kids, whatever, you can certainly be upset about that. But we always do have that power and the ability to go, great, you did it, I forgive you. Now let's see where that takes
Yes.
us. And to take it full circle, would I be back in the building right now that I haven't set foot in for 14 years? If it wasn't for you and I working things out. My life has taken me to the point where I'm sitting in a building where the last time I was here, my belongings were loaded onto a flatbed and taken down to a lobby by Tuttle. and I had to put them in my car and go, 11 years at Real Radio at night, and this is how it comes to an end.
Yeah, and we shared that. I was also unceremoniously given the boot. Coincidentally, not for the incident, for
Right.
something much less stupid, like
For not doing it again.
Yes, yeah, and so we share this kind of, I guess you could say, commiserate in that
Yeah.
sense. But here we are. You're back in this building. We're
Yeah.
recording this at the iHeart Studios in
Man,
Orlando.
it's crazy.
How does it feel to be back in the studio?
Weird, man. It brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
I learned a lot here. I made a lot of mistakes. I did. I guess I kind of made a mark because there are still people who
Totally
listen to
made
the
a
show
mark.
who are
Totally.
like, I listened to you when I was a teenager at night in Orlando,
Yes.
and it still blows my mind. You know, when we look back at our young careers with the adult perspective, we realize how much we did wrong. We realize how selfish we were and blah, blah, blah. And I say we, meaning me.
Yeah, You had fame, you had power,
Right,
you had
and
alcohol, drugs.
and no one there to go, hey, this is the right way to
Right,
do it.
nobody,
So-
nobody.
And honestly, like, not to dig it up, but like with Daniel and me, I still think like if we had someone who could just go, hey, I'm going to manage you guys, we might still be working together and
I
making
agree.
$10 billion a year doing mornings all throughout the United States of America.
I can
'cause
see that.
You know what I mean? But like,
And that's another thing. You and I both have a connection to a radio guy that we were both partners. There's two. Life is a simulation, Drew.
Dude, in 2012, things ceased to exist, and we're all living in some weird world. But to answer the question, how it feels to be back, it's great, honestly, under these circumstances, to be in here, to see what your company's doing, to be with a different company that is doing things differently. And I've seen radio change and evolved, and now it lives in this podcasting space where we can sit down as quote-unquote competitors, yet still hopefully create compelling content.
I think so.
It feels great to be back, and it's just so weird that Maitland housed 3 of the jobs of mine that like this one, and then I left to go across the street to OROC 105.9.
That's right.
And then when I'm out of radio for 3 years, I go to work at the RDV, which is within spitting distance from here. Why Maitland?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I worked here, and I worked across the street at EA Sports.
See? Why is this area? What's up with the 32751?
I don't know, but this is the simulation. Elon Musk is right. We're all playing this out, and it brought us to this moment here, which if in a million years you would have asked me could have happened, I would have said no, but it is. And time again in life, that is shown to me. These situations where I find myself like, boy, I would have never guessed that. That's why anybody who's like given up, anybody who feels like, oh, I guess this is it, oh, this will never happen, you can't think that way.
You can't, and I did. When I was out of radio, radio broke my heart in 2008 when OROC flipped formats and fired everybody. It was the first time I had ever gotten let go for nothing that I did. They just decided the format wasn't working, so they blew everybody out. And I was so hurt from it, I lost my belief in myself. I thought if I was any good, the radio stations would be beating down my door to get back in this. So I went through a career crossroads. The very day after I got fired, I was waiting tables at a restaurant in College Park because my friend Jerry, he knows I'm an earner. Like there's no pride when it comes to earning.
Me too.
I don't give a shit. If you want to make fun of me because I'm the guy giving you bread, and yesterday I was making fun of you awesome. Like, make fun of me all day. I'm putting money in my family.
I was selling slicers at Sears. Okay,
no shame
on
in
stage,
my
like,
game.
who wants to buy these slicers?
Precisely.
Yeah.
So then, I go through that, and then I get the job with the Magic, and I'm in sales, and you know what that's like. Where
Brutal.
I mean, the rejection, and for extra sensitive people like myself, that rejection is personal.
Yes,
Even though that 4 agreements, man, the one that I'm struggling with the worst is don't take anything personally because I take everything personally. My inner monologue, it's all of everyone saying it.
Well, let me
about
ask you this:
Yeah.
how long have you been telling yourself, "I take everything personally"?
Well, that's a good question. I need to stop that, huh?
100%. There's a great book called Mind Hacker that talks about the thoughts and the things that we say over and over are the HTML code, the programs that we run in life.
You're right, and I saw Deepak Chopra say the same thing about when you relive past trauma and you tell people about it. Your body is going through the same thing. It
doesn't know any difference.
Right, right.
You don't take things personally, Russ. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. How ironic was that?
What I was going to say is you don't take things personally because you wouldn't be sitting here right now if you truly felt that way.
Good point.
And I think today, hopefully, is the day where it's weird. It's like you don't want to say, I don't take things personally because who? God? Your brain is going, wait a second, Drew. That's not true. You can say it.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm working on not taking things personally.
Right.
I don't take things personally. And eliminate that. Because there's so many things that I used to say, this is da-da-da-da. And then I always ask myself, when did I define myself?
Right.
When did you define yourself as taking things personally? Was it as a kid?
Yeah,
Was
probably.
it as an...
Yeah.
And now you're the strong, smart, amazing father, great friend to many, that there's probably so many things that happen to you that you didn't take personally.
Right.
But you've just been saying over and over, and I take everything personally.
Yeah.
I take everything personally. I take everything personally. There's no need for it.
I'll never say it again.
I know you don't have a thing with the hands, but my hands are clean.
I'll fucking dude, I don't care. I just don't burn a heater in front of me.
I saw that, yeah.
So when I was out of radio, I had given up on it. I thought, like, this is my path. I'm a sales guy now. I knew it wasn't going to be what I was going to do for the rest of my life, but I also knew, well, radio's not beating down my door. And, dude, when people come up to you and they say, hey, man, you should be back on the radio, and like, you feel like maybe you should be, but you know that there's no space for you, it crushes your soul.
It did. Look, once again, we are in the similar thing. I wish I would have had a job. I think I applied for a job at Sales and Manager. They're like, ain't getting this gig. I was selling slicers in the middle of a Belk in Winter Haven, dressed as a chef.
Yep.
So, out there, and people would come up to me, hey, aren't you Carlos? I'm like, yeah, I'm still Carlos. I'm trying to make some money here for my family. I'm trying to pay these bills now. I was still acting. But I remember sitting in the back of a warehouse, waiting for my next 15, 20-minute shift of selling slicers going, damn, I guess this is it.
Same. I would, yeah.
And it wasn't, nothing got me out of that other than obviously support from my wife and friends and people that love me.
Right.
But a mentality shift.
You're right. And when I remember I was doing group photos for the Magic after games. They let me have the microphone and call groups down. That was the closest I came to being back on the radio. And like, certain people, I truly believe this, if you're meant to be where you are, people will come along in your path and they will help you get there. And, and I always now try to be that person who helps someone get from here to there. If I can use my influence, my position, whatever, to help someone chase their dreams, go from here to here, I'm going to do that because enough people did it for me to where almost a miraculous set of circumstances happen, and I get a Facebook message from Stevie DeMann. Who I think at the time, you remember Stevie DeMann?
I love Stevie, I
think at the time he's with Obie and Little Sean on Power 95, and he messages me on Facebook, and he says, hey, man, you ever think about get back in the radio? I know somebody in a top 20 market looking for a morning show host, and I think you'd be perfect for it. And I remember staring at that message and thinking to myself, I'm done with radio. Radio broke my heart. I'm done with radio. And then going, oh, my God. Oh, wait, what?
Still on me.
And long story short, I went through an insane process and landed back on the radio in July of 2011. And
was that back in Orlando, right?
No, it was in Tampa.
Oh, Tampa. Okay, it was straight to Tampa.
For 97X, an alternative rocker.
I forgot Top 20. Yeah, that's Tampa.
Yeah. I didn't know it was Tampa at first when I was applying, though. So, like you said, put a demo together. And at first, I'm like, I'm not putting together a demo just so they can reject me. And I'm having enough rejection in my life without radio. Yeah. And so, but then I did it. And then I sent it to some consultant in Denver. So I automatically assumed because I was sending it to him in Denver that it was a Denver morning show.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, I've never been to Colorado. What the hell? And now they're going to build a wall around it. So I'm sorry, everybody. Oops. Stepped into a dangerous territory.
That's all good.
I sent it there and I thought, well, I'm not going to move to Denver, bring my family to Denver for some BS radio opportunity. And then it turned out to be in Tampa. A guy in the morning wanted to get off the morning show, so they were putting him in the afternoon. They were looking for a host with experience with running a show, and
boom,
I couldn't friggin' believe it, dude. They made the job offer. I took it.
And you've been in Tampa ever since?
8 years, and that station went through some changes, and they started an FM talk station just like, literally almost just like Real Radio. I was thinking about this on the way here. Mike Calta, Russ Rollins.
Sure.
We have a Spanish. They have a Black Bean. Yeah. You got a Dirty Jim. We got a Galvin. They have a Savannah. We have a Carmen. It's so weird, the parallels you run. But, yeah, they started an FM talker, I think, late 2012, and gave me my own show called In Your Face with Drew Garabo, which you were one of the first guests on.
Yes, I was.
And it was intentionally confrontational. I was picking these topics that were extreme to where I could yell at people and shit. Because
you were still figuring
trying
out.
to find that voice, you know, and they wanted me to have a niche because everybody at the station at the time had a niche. So that was my niche. But eventually there's a shelf life to stuff like that. And I don't like to feel forced into stuff. If I had to do like sports radio every day, I can't imagine what that feels like.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah. So like I want my own voice, and it's been an evolution. And now I feel like I'm living a more authentic life on and off the air than ever before. Yeah, it feels good.
From us talking, from your well thought out and beautifully written post, you got a book in you. You know that, right?
People say that, but the problem with me, Carlos, is that when writing becomes work, I lose my zeal for it.
Okay.
The minute I force myself to write, because I've tried several times. I mean, I've got about 12 attempts at starting a book, and every time it feels like work. Every time I feel like I'm trying to sit down and do it.
What was your approach with it? Would you go, okay, I got 6 hours, and I'm going to write, and I do it?
Yeah, more like I tried to think in my head, beginning and conclusion. Let's write that out, and I think I need a workshop or something to teach me how to get what's in here out through here.
Okay, you ready? There's a book called Atomic Habits. I believe the writer is David Chase. It's a fantastic book. Small bites.
Okay.
Small bites. Wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Have your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And write one paragraph.
Oof.
That's it. And if you want to write some more, that's fine. But just give yourself the one paragraph. And then the next day, give yourself a paragraph. And then the next, with no pressure, because if you look at this gigantic, I'm dealing with my own thing with this too, in certain senses, and trying to achieve some great big things and getting overwhelmed and going, do I deserve this? Am I smart enough to do this? Am I able to achieve this? And what I realize is when you bite the small chunks, you'll get much further. It's like working out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you go, I'm going to go home and hit the gym for 3 hours, 4 hours, and get ripped, and then you look, you're like, I don't look any different, and then you give up the next day.
Yep.
But you are a beautiful writer. It's so good, and very rarely do I see somebody that writes like the See More on Facebook, and do I ever click it? You know, I'm like, but it's true. I'm like, I'm going to click that because I know it's going to be good.
And you know what? I never edit myself. Those are my first thoughts. Like I'll wake up. I meditate now when I wake up. I found this guided meditation on this dude, Jason Stevenson, on YouTube. He's got this Australian voice. It's such a great way. You don't always reach to the place you're looking for, but just to take that maybe 10 to 20 minutes of when do you get to do that, silently reflect on waking up in a new day and all the promise and opportunity that lie there. It's an amazing way to do it. So then, I'm getting Xander ready for school. I drive him every day, and I sit down at the computer, and I'm just like, here's what I'm thinking at the time. Throwing up all over the keyboard.
Have you ever thought of taking exactly what you wrote on Facebook and begin to build a book from it?
Yeah.
I
should do that.
And
just then, give it to a publisher or whatever.
Say, hey,
turn this into something good.
Aggregate all this.
That's a good idea.
These are my thoughts. This is my life. This is my opinions. And that way, take these little steps every day because I really believe in you.
Thank you.
And I really believe you're one of the best broadcasters I've ever known.
Thank you very much.
I mean, genuinely, you and Daniel were the reason my dream wasn't radio.
Right.
It was always like entertainment, acting, camera, behind the camera. And I was like, man, these guys are funny as hell, man. And I'm so glad that you never lost that desire, that desire was always there. Thanks. And that you had those opportunities. I think you got a book in you. I think you still got your show is doing awesome, and you're doing your thing, and you probably have a whole nother level. We'll probably talk 5 years from now, and we'll be like, remember when you went back and like where we were at, and it'll be this other kind of not plateau, but level.
Yeah, I feel that. With my show now, it couldn't have come at a better time because now I'm finally at a place where I want to make an impact on the world. It's about more than just me making a living doing a radio show.
Yes.
Having no formal training in radio, having to figure out everything by myself, it's a blessing and a curse. I've loved some insight. I would have loved some guidance, but at the same time, I learned what I like, what I don't like, and it's taken me so long to go, you can impact people on a personal level by just giving them someone to talk to or giving them a reason to look forward to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Or, better yet, use your position to help these charities out. We've got a charity over there that puts iPads in the hands of kids who are going through cancer. I just became the vice president of the Down Syndrome Association of Tampa Bay because of my nephew Will. Man. Shout out to Will. And that feels great to touch all those families' lives. And then Busch Gardens made me an ambassador about 6 years ago, where I get this pass that gets me plus 4 people in for free. So I actively solicit people who either are going through hard times or just can't afford it. And if a month goes by and I haven't taken at least 1, if not 2 families into the park, I feel like I've a failure, like I'm not living up to my end of the bargain, because not everybody can afford it. It's a lot of fun. So, just to be able to take some family of 4 in that wouldn't normally be able to go, those little things make me feel so much better about not just my world, but the world we're living in right now, which is more divided than it's ever been.
It is. And I want to highlight that, both of us were consumed with our own selves in the past.
For sure.
If we did charity work, it was like accidental. And both of us, and I love seeing everything that you're doing. We get so much joy out of what we're able to do with the platforms, with our talents of being communicators, in all honesty. And if you're feeling down on yourself, if you're feeling hurt, and start giving back. Yep. And you'll see very quickly how much it makes you feel good and how good you really have it.
Right. It's not going to solve those internal problems that we all struggle with, and that's what I'm coming to terms with, but it will give you, at the very least, a temporary distraction, and to see the joy that you can evoke from other people, that will make you feel at least 5% good, and then you can start chipping away at the things in yourself. And I'm speaking very personally because it's exactly what I'm doing in my life right now. And you'll realize, you know what? We can cut ourselves a break sometimes as long as we try, and every day we're at least trying to be a better person.
I like what you said there. We beat ourselves up a lot. I don't care who you are. They look at me, Mr. Motivation. I try and post as much as I can. I try and live a positive life. But at times I sit back and I'm sitting there judging myself.
Of course.
And I'm beating myself up for past mistakes, for current mistakes, things I'm trying to live up to. But at the end of the day, man, nobody's keeping score.
No.
Except our own selves.
You're right, dude. And a lot of people would look at the inspirational posts that you and I try to put up there and go, well, is that real? Is that sincere? Well, of course it is. Yeah. We have the sincere desire to shape others and to give them something to believe in. But if you think that we live that life 24/7, you're absolutely wrong.
No.
I try to put an inspirational quote on Twitter, at Drew on the Radio, by the way. Thank you.
There you go. I was about to say.
And really trying to get to 100,000. I don't know, it means nothing.
It does mean something. That's impressive.
It would if I would get there. But I try to put something out there to where one person will go, hey, I needed to hear that today.
Happens all the time.
I'll find a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson or Oprah or anybody, just to have someone read it and go, man, I really needed to read that about not giving up on myself, about not letting negative thoughts, about how anger is like eating rat poison and expecting the rat to die.
I know. I love that one. Yeah.
And so,
that's been coming up a lot lately. That's been coming up.
Yeah. So in other words, we're not like these Pollyanna dudes who are like, everything is awesome. Yeah. Life is great. Everybody look at me. It's, I go through it, you go through it. Let's all realize that we're all a little bit, and if there is a benefit to society in 2019, if this isn't a simulation, it's that we're all so much more open about our feelings. Our parents, they didn't talk about their feelings. Are you kidding me?
No.
Did you ever have a conversation with your dad about emotions?
Hell no. My dad talked to me one time about Bobby Brown's song, Everybody's Humping Around. That was as close as we got to feelings. Okay, he's like, Carlos, that's about sex, right? I'm like, yeah, I know that. That was about as much.
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't know what feelings were, and I shit you not, until I started taking acting classes in my 20s, and they're like, you have to talk about your emotion. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Emotions and your logical, that's the same thing, right? No, there's emotions, and then there's logic, and then there's how you live. I'm like, wait a second, not how I've lived my life. It's been one steady stream. And like, you'd have to be like, I'm feeling sad right now. I was like, well, okay, so I run with that,
Right.
And so, no, my daughter, she says, emotional and all these words that I literally never said until my 20s. But there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way, and how most great things happen through this major obstacle. And sometimes it defeats people because they mentally give up. We wouldn't be able to say these things, right? Believe these things, and most importantly, have other people want to hear it.
Right.
If our lives were perfectly fine, we didn't go through any bullshit, we didn't go through any trials and tribulations, everything was perfectly fine. They'd be like, yeah, well, guess what, man? Yeah, boring. You've lived this. But we both have been through the ringer. A lot of stuff on our own fault, some stuff on everybody's fault. But at the end of the day, I kind of take ownership for it all.
Yeah, me too. And I won't go into details, but the last year of my life romantically and the last 5 years of my life from a parenting perspective with the mother of my son, it'd be real easy to get bogged down in it and go, holy crap, I'm making bad choice after bad choice, blah, blah, blah. You know, I step back from it and I go, I'm clearly doing something to bring this to me. I can't blame this all on other people because I'm doing something to bring all of this turmoil and this bad decision and then the consequences therein to my life. How do we get it to stop? Just cut it out. Just don't be such a shithead. Be a good person. And when it, like you mentioned, your daughter talking about emotions. My son, when he'll express compassion and his desire to like make people happy and all this stuff, I go, wow. I can't imagine what my dad would have felt like if I had said that to him, or my mom would have felt like. And I feel so damn lucky. I have, no matter what goes wrong in my life, no matter what I bring to my doorstep that turns out to be a flaming bag of dog crap that I have to stomp on in my brand new LeBrons, which I wore for you, by the way.
I noticed when you walked in, I was like, those are dope.
So no matter what happens there, I have a job that people would consider to be the job of your dreams because I do nothing but express my thoughts and try to get people to relate to them. And I have this son who I created 16 and a half years ago that
he's had pride and joy in it, and it makes me happy every time I see. He seems like a wonderful boy. I love
he's everything, man.
Yeah,
he really is, and to live through what he's lived through, and to overcome the past 5 years of me being the sole provider, where I'm not tooting my own horn at all because I had to figure it out all on my own. But for 5 years, I've been mother and father, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
That ain't easy, man.
It's not at all, and I've been blessed with this kid who has helped me get through it by being such a great freaking kid.
Yeah.
So no matter what might fall around me, I look at those things and go, okay, this is my rock. I think everyone has that. Everyone hopefully has some sort of solace and a foundation that can hold them up when the storms start pounding your roof.
Yeah, I think everybody does, but I think sometimes people choose not to see it.
Right.
Sometimes their family life is great, but maybe they're not making enough money. Maybe their job isn't where they want it to be.
Right.
Maybe they have some issues with their friends, and they focus on the negative, and then their whole world is negative. You got to step back and go, all right, I'm going to focus on the good here because it's levels, man.
It is, and I'll cross-promote for you here. I watched Tuttle on the Russ and Bo 2.0 podcast.
Yeah,
so that's an example of, I think, I'm not speaking against Tuttle. I've been in touch with him the last couple of weeks, and I try to check in, but that's an example of what can happen when the negative really, really piles up and you start internalizing and externalizing it. You can fall into a very dangerous situation where you're really hurting yourself and really hurting other people around you if you can't see the opportunities you have, the chances you've been given. You're just so consumed, and we all do it. You're so consumed of this person has more than I do, and I work harder than they do. I did it with Russ when I was at Real Radio. That's one of the reasons that things went to shit is because he's so damn successful, and I would look at it and go, damn, I worked my butt off. I feel like I'm a good host. I don't want to say a better host, but I feel like I'm a really good host. But this guy's created this empire. Damn him for that. Well, damn me for not figuring out the same things that I could have done if that was my goal to be on that path. We all do it, and when you do it too much, man, it'll
eat you up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because it's all right. I like that spit. It's good.
I don't like it at all.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been able to see it from like so many levels, working so closely with Russ now and think about it. I was fired from his show by Russ, and he had the humility enough to then ask me, hey, man, I want you back. I need you. And him and I are in a very good place. Yeah. And he had to grow up too. There's a lot of stuff that, he got kicked in the dick too a bunch of times. Some of his fault, some other stuff fault. Right. But you don't get to there continuing to do the same stuff. You don't have that interview with Tuttle. You don't have him being looked at now with a lot more respect if he continued to act and do the things that he did in the past. He's a totally different person, as we all are. And I think that's hopefully what people get out of this is that if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like things are caving in around you, you can turn it around. You can be in a different place and make the world a little bit better place.
If you told me 2 years ago that I'd be talking to you about our mutual fondness for Russ Collins, I would have said you were loco, S.A. But I saw him, after a couple of years of some bad crap, I saw him at Universal one day, and I was in a better place in my life. He was in a better place in his life. And I looked at my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, oh, my God, I haven't seen this dude in what's it?
Yeah.
And he came over, and he gave me a hug, and from that moment on, I message him on Twitter all the time, and he'll message me back, and it's like, I'm proud of your success.
Yeah.
And I feel the need every time to apologize for the shit that I said or did. That's just who I am. And I'll say it again. Russ, I'm really sorry, man. But it's just so fascinating to watch that with Tuttle, because you've got Bo there who...
he can give a care. Yeah,
I mean,
that's his best friend. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sincerely and authentically Bo.
I'm glad he was there. It was a good...
It added an incredible dynamic because it allowed Tuttle to say, well, look, people can see suicide as a selfish act, but the person who's mentally ill feels like the world is better off without them.
Right.
And it was just an example of forgiveness, compassion, and here we are talking about the same thing, People can do this. It is as easy as deciding that someone is worth forgiving and having in your life.
The decision. Like you just said, you got to make a decision. When you want to go through with something, you got to say, this is what I'm actively going to do and move forward with it. I think we leave it here.
Yeah, be impeccable with your word, the first agreement of the 4 agreements.
And you know what? You don't take things personal. Look at you. This whole thing has been nobody, brother. Hey, man, I love you, bro.
I love you too, man.
And I hope that this continues in so many different ways. Yeah. I'm proud of you for everything that you're doing. And
thank you.
And your son is amazing, and I could go on and on. But we'll definitely come back, and then you know what? We'll have a totally different vibe. We'll talk magic. We'll talk pop culture.
We'll talk Jim Phillips and his retirement. Because we text every couple of weeks, and it blows my. I mean,
is he itching to get back?
No.
He's happy as hell.
not. And like the way it all happened, and now Jimmy's on in the afternoons.
Crazy.
When I look back at it all, everything happens so strangely, yet exactly the way it's supposed to. And that'll be the next time we sit down
and
talk about where things are for both of us.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
And I do know one thing today will be a great day. To the top, never stop.